SUVs, they're everywhere, aren't they? If you're in the market for one, you might well fancy something with a premium badge on its nose, which in turn could lead you to the Audi Q5. Is it any good though? Let's find out. The Q5 has been around since 2008 with a facelift in 2012. That's an unusually long run before being given the boot for its replacement, meaning there's loads of examples to choose from. You can have petrol or diesel, manual or automatic, but what you can't have is any more than 5 seats, because unlike something like the Land Rover Discovery Sport, Audi never offered this as an option on the Q5. Now, if you are going to use this middle seat here, there is a fairly chunky transmission tunnel to straddle, but having said that, the Q5 is wide enough to fit 3 across, which is excellent. The seats also have backrests that recline slightly for a slightly more laid-back seating position, and on some models you can slide the whole seats forwards and backwards to trade a bit of leg room for more space in the boot. In either instance, the Q5's load bay is easy to access thanks to its square shape and flat loading lip, although it's worth bearing in mind that while overall capacity is good, it still doesn't quite match the BMW X3. What you do get though is not only the upmarket image that comes associated with driving an Audi, but also a real sense of solidity and chunkiness and quality. Things like these big old door mirrors here, and even silly things like the door handle mechanism and that solid thunk when you close the door. It just makes the Q5 feel like a high quality item. Speaking of solid, the Q5 also feels very safe and sturdy to drive, while still being one of the best handling big SUVs on the road. All models come with four-wheel drive, so there's lots of grip, and although the ride-on S-Line spec versions can be a little bit firm, the payoff is that there's really not much body lean in corners. The Q5 is also quiet on a longer run, helping it to eat up the miles with ease. As far as the dashboard layout goes, there's no hiding the fact that the Q5 is one of Audi's older designs, but having said that, everything still moves with a really nice, slick precision, and the MMI infotainment system is easier to use when you're driving than a touchscreen. Unsurprisingly, for a car of this size and weight, diesel Q5s are much more popular than petrol. In fact, on CarGurus listings, they outnumber them by about 4 to 1. The range kicks off with a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel with 140 horsepower, which, to be honest, is perfectly sufficient. If you crave a little extra, you can have the same engine with around 170 horsepower, or a 3-litre V6 with 240 horsepower. On the petrol front, things kick off with a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo with a range of power outputs that starts from 175 horsepower. Or, if you really like visiting petrol stations, there's a V6 that's either 3.2 litres in capacity before the 2012 facelift or 3 litres after it. VED road tax costs from £150 a year for the cheapest diesel, but can be as much as £305 a year for the bigger petrol engines, so be sure to check first. Servicing is required every year or 10,000 miles, so look for evidence that it's been carried out to schedule. The diesels also require a new timing belt every 5 years, and the S-tronic gearbox needs servicing every 35,000 miles. Speaking of the automatic gearbox, it is not unheard of for it to need replacing at a cost that runs into thousands of pounds. As such, it's important to check that it shifts gear smoothly both when accelerating and slowing down, and that reverse engages without a jolt. It's not all that often we get to talk about rust in these used car reviews, but the Q5 can suffer from a bit of the old tin worm around the wheel arches here if the paint wears thin. No such problems on this car. Another thing to listen out for on a test drive is a knocking sound from the suspension, because the ball joints can wear, and be sure to check out all of the electrical features to make sure they work. As ever, you can help avoid issues such as these by buying from a dealer you can trust, which is where CarGurus dealer ratings are invaluable. As indeed is the way CarGurus presents search results, not from the cheapest to the most expensive, but by what represents the best deal, according to things like make, mileage, model and specification. Then we factor in dealer rankings to show you the best results first, leaving it down to you to buy the Q5 you want at a fair price from a great dealer. That's it from us for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and happy car shopping.